Hello, this is my night get nuked. I am thirsty. There are my players over there. Huzzah! I did the right way around for the first time, straight off the bat. Hurrah! Right, tonight we should be playing Nuked, which is a lovely little post-apocalyptic setting. That was almost a word. Lovely little post-apocalyptic setting in the spiced system that I wrote with the wonderful Volanda, who does way more stuff and is much more famous and just generally, good. Okay. Thanks, Corone. Throw that in early. Before we go any further, on Corone's sort of prompting, we shall do the rules for chat for those of you who are out there in chatland. Yeah. So, do not be a tool about someone's race. Do not be a tool about someone's gender. Do not be a tool. Just don't. Nope.
Or a screwdriver.
There we are. That was just cruel. I'd be begging there. Someone just come in and do that. Anyway, so yes. There we are. So now you know the standards you will be held to. And the standards that, hey, everyone should be held to. So, here we are. I haven't moved the little thing for where we are on the map. Anyway, tonight, as you look upon the gorgeous overlay there, you will notice on the map, as with last week, we have a little here badge showing roughly where the players are. Yeah. Which I quickly cobbled together with paint. Yep, that's right. Top production values here. So. So, right. Where are we? Those of you who don't remember, because I very nearly didn't. Last, we saw our heroes destroy a ship, make a life raft, get rescued, have to save Zeke's leg, meet the Dolshoy again, retrieve Morgan's shipment of crates that they were hiding somewhere, and once again hop back on board the Botland Bride to return to Ooze Town. So, before we jump back into the action, maybe we should reintroduce the players in this little drama. So, Spanners.
Ooh. I am Spanners and I'm playing Timi, the quiet, reserved, not violent whatsoever, just sweetness and light.
Who?
I think, okay. I think the appropriate phrase here is going to be hold my beer.
Excellent. So yeah. So Timi has a somewhat checkered past. Or, to be fair, a somewhat checkered present.
Yeah, you could say checkered present. I think this week in a chat we described her as a human, but basically a nightmare.
Yeah, I believe it was a human nightmare, yes. Yes, your escapades in the past go from enslaving children with the promise of literacy to shooting sex workers in the throat.
Mm-hmm. With a nail gun.
With a nail gun. And most crimes in between.
And yes, probably a checkered future too.
Yes. I'm not sure exactly how one has a checkered future, but right. All things are possible. We shall see. So yes, next we shall hop to Lilth.
Okay, I am Lilth and I am playing Anita, the very sweet and innocent, wouldn't sell drugs to anyone.
I'm not appreciating this undercurrent of deceit.
Absolutely gorgeous rotter, whose skin is falling off, and she looks her age.
Alas, she does.
And
how old is she?
100 and something, if I remember correctly. She's forgotten. She was definitely alive before the bombs.
Yes.
Mm.
Probably up to no good. So yes, we have Anita with her also deeply checkered past of drug. The peddling of pharmaceutical amusements.
Healthcare facilitation.
Chemical refreshments.
Yeah.
Yes.
Generally sold to make people feel better.
Yes.
And
Apart from on those few occasions where you sold people painkillers to deal with VD and you told them they could put it in their water tank.
Worked the last time she suggested it.
No, it stopped them complaining. That's different. Not complaining and not being ill are different.
A few of Anita's patients stopped complaining.
Yeah, some of them died. Yes,
Quite a few didn't.
Some haven't. It's true. Yes. So yes, Anita, a definite sort of I don't want to say definite, a vague sort of moral rating of sort of one thumb up, one thumb down.
Yeah.
Huzzah. So yes, and that brings us to the definite hero of the hour, the mighty and gracious Eivor.
Tonight I shall be playing the well-lettered, the brave and valiant, the mild-mannered Zeke, as he adjusts to life with 2 leg braces and hopefully recovers enough to go on whatever is in store when they return to Ooze Town.
Yes, that is the point at this point. It's Zeke hasn't had a particularly great time of it recently, having burned most of the skin off of his legs, and is now fitted with a rather fantastic. I seem to recall the device was rather fantastic in the end. You'd regained almost all function, if not, necessarily aesthetics. It wasn't necessarily a wonderfully ergonomic device, but it was, effective nonetheless. So now you're the stompy quiet one.
All I remember is I had a problem with stairs. Everything else is fine.
Yeah. There we are. We have the brave Zeke, the long-suffering medic Anita, and the walking human nightmare that is Timi. Oh. So currently you are all aboard the Bottle and Bride. You are coming back from Seestadt towards Ooze Town. You can see the little hair thing there. Yeah, it's moving. So yes, you've been on for a few days, I seem to recall. It took a few days to get to Seestadt. I can't remember how many because I forgot to recap. So hey, let's play with it here. It took a few days. So, 3, in fact. I've now been informed. So, you're crawling back down the coast. I mean, the Bottom Bride isn't really meant to go very far out to sea, especially not when it's loaded down with heavy crates. So, you've gone back sort of. You've been. I believe the term is coasting down the coast, which sounds odd, especially to drivers, because that's not what it means on the road. But hey, and as you pass yet one more headland around the town that you've been told is called Morkrad, you see a pile of smoke rising from the familiar shape of Ooze Town. Now, a pile of smoke rising from Ooze Town is nothing unusual for you. You're quite experienced in setting large buildings in Ooze Town on fire. But this is probably a prize-winning plume of smoke, even by your standards. And as you draw closer, you see that these fires are almost all out, but you know the scope of this diffuse smoke is making a pull over the town. It's blowing inland, so you can see. It's always handy.
Well, at least they can't blame us for this one. We have an alibi. We weren't here.
True, you have been gone for like a week. Right. So yeah, so you cruise in. Yeah, I guess. What was his name now? O'Neill. Comes and gets you. We'll assume that you're, having some lunch in the galley downstairs, which at this point, is mainly composed of. It's mainly composed of a sort of an odd salty stew. Timi, you probably know what's in this. It's essentially just it's very much like a traditional medieval stew. It's whatever they happen to have. The traditional components of a salty shipboard stew are fish that have been boiled long enough to ensure they are dead. Whatever tack people are willing to part with, kelp products, all sorts of things like that. Seaweed they just managed to fish out. Essentially, they take things that would otherwise be very dangerous to humans and they boil them long enough that they become edible. It's what makes salties. It's what makes salties such a hardy lot. They have a sort of a passive exposure to toxins that would kill land folk. As such, earlier in the week, you guys eating this probably wasn't great. But, like people who've gone on holiday somewhere very different and, the water's changed, and it gives you a bit of an odd stomach, you're adapting. It's the only thing to eat, so you might as well enjoy it. And since you've been to Zeke, it's been supplemented with a heavy dose of kelp and things that aren't quite so poisonous. So hey, you're basically sitting there eating like the light curry and sweating, while all the people around you go. Pfft. So there. At this point, O'Neill's going to come in and he's going to say, "You better look at this. This isn't right." You coming?
So Zeke will click his way along behind O'Neill to go up on deck again. So it's still sort of fairly dubious about the kelp kraut that appears next to every meal now.
Fair enough. So yeah, you stomp up, and the thing that O'Neill sort of stomp upstairs, and O'Neill points to something in the distance. Sort of, you're sitting on the other end of the bay from Ooze Town. Probably only a few minutes away if you really push it, and you can see that where previously there was a large harbour wall coming out, which is sort of what enclosed the salty enclave and protected it from the sea. There are now like holes in the seawall. It's clearly been damaged quite recently, obviously in the last week. And the small lighthouse that sat at the end has fallen into the sea. When you were further out, the lighthouse doesn't work. So it wouldn't really bring any major sort of issue. But now that you're closer, you can definitely see that whatever's happened to the town while you've been gone, someone's taken it into their heads to destroy part of the sea wall.
Okay. Are we close enough to sort of get a grasp of what's going on in in Ooze town itself? Is that something we might perceive from this distance?
At this distance, no, not really. I mean, I'll say you can see the smoke. You can see the buildings. Those buildings that are extant through the smoke look battered. They don't look as good as they did when you left. Now that could just be that they're streaked with smoke. It could be that they've been burned. You're not really sure at this distance. But things do not look great. Never mind, there's still a breakwater between you and the Salties enclave, so it's kind of hard to see that so well. I think it's actually the other way around. But,
That definitely doesn't look good.
no, it doesn't. I mean, we've got all this gear for Morgan, but if you don't want to go, I'll understand.
You want to explain that to Morgan?
Well, no, but
Yeah. Neither do I.
I also kind of don't want Morgan to have to explain that to me.
So
I mean,
We
I've got
need to-
crew with families in there.
yeah.
It'd be better to find out what's happened than just leave them to it. Maybe.
Do you have another one of those little boats that we went to the breaking wave on? So as you don't need to pull in with all this gear just yet, and we can give you a signal if it's okay.
I mean, might be able to land you on the well, we might be able to sort of, get you onto the harbour arm or something if you want, but we don't really have any more boats to sort of throw away.
Because if what Morgan's given us is anything like that jar that we had on the breaking wave, I'm not a fan of getting it that close to what looks to be fires, if you know what I'm saying. Just for everyone's safety's sake, if you get what I'm saying.
So,
That makes sense.
so what you did back there was that little jar you had.
Yeah.
Right.
Shit.
Well, it
You're-
started with the jar.
You're telling me I've got boxes of that in the open?
The last explosion wasn't because of the jar. That was the whole magazine going boom. The first explosion, however, that may possibly have been the jar, maybe.
The one that made a big glowing hole in a boat.
Yeah, you might want to be careful with the crates. We don't want them get them too close.
Yeah, you think? He just turns to one of the guys out in the crew, just like, "Hazmat, move!" And they pull up the climbing the cargo nets from the side of the ship. They dunk them briefly in the water and they wrap them around the crates, so that they're not flammable and they are padded. Like, how could you not tell us this?
Thought Morgan told you.
No.
Well, she didn't exactly tell us either. We
God.
found out
When?
when it went boom.
Yeah. When
Oh, shit.
you've made a hole in a boat.
Oh God. Right. So, you made my home into a floating bomb. That's
No,
not cool,
we
man.
didn't.
That's not cool.
Morgan did. Blame Morgan.
Ugh.
We're just the messengers.
The quicker we get off towards Morgan with these things, then, the quicker your boat is no longer a bomb and you can be on your way. Your debt is done with her, and, she probably won't blow you up. Maybe.
Yeah.
You know what she's like.
Yeah. I do. So landing you at the harbour arm, yeah?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
If you can.
All right. We'll see what we can do. Shit. And yeah, the boat pulls across the bay. It doesn't. What should you mean? This is literally what this boat is for. Clipping about on bays. It's an old trawler. So shoots across the bay. No, in no time really. You notice once you approach the sort of the harbour arm on the other side, on the near side actually, the breakwaters the other side. But I think I said it the other way around previously, because I screwed up the terminology. As you pull up close to the harbour arm, you notice he's looking a bit antsy. It's clearly not very deep water, and he's really not relishing the idea of running aground. And as such, he immediately turns the boat facing out to sea and lets it drift sideways closer to the harbour arm, so that when the time comes, he can just punch the engines and shoot back out to sea. Because he's no fool, and he's possibly a little paranoid. So you draw closer. There's only a few meters in it, and you draw close to the harbour arm. The harbour arm is mainly sort of wooden struts, preserved, rather paradoxically preserved with tar and the seawater. Doesn't seem that it should work that way, but apparently it does. And occasionally there are rungs sort of driven into it, like old rusty iron rungs. Or possibly steel. You don't really know. You're not a metallurgist. Driven into these pilings in order for, just like now, people to climb up them. Yeah. Gets you within sort of 3-4 meters of the thing. Like, it'll be a stretch, but you could probably jump and grab them.
Zeke looks down at his legs in these two casts and then looks over to O'Neill and says, I think you might need to get a bit closer there.
Bastard.
Unless you've got a plank thing.
Have we got a plank? Actually, do you one better? And O'Neill and two of the people from on the deck crew, they take the top off of one of the crates. Just sort of a 4x4 crate, foot, not meters, and they proceed to hold it at one side so it projects, off the side, nearly a meter. And the two, I believe we established that there was a lass and a lad on deck previously, so they sit on the close corners and go, there you are.
Still may not be quite close enough.
Oh, come on.
Well, see, does have a weak shoulder and dodgy legs at the moment, so we need to make it easier for him and me. Not as young as I used to be.
Right. I've got an idea. And O'Neill steps up onto this plank and it rocks a little. Yeah, but they're holding it fairly steady. And he puts one foot sort of on the side of the ship, one foot on the board. And he says, he just turns to Timi, offers you a hand. Right, you first.
Yeah, so Timi will, being a bit more sprightly than the other two, hold out a hand and just kind of jump.
He's got his right foot on the boat, left foot on the board. He offers you his left hand. And he takes your hand. And he takes the back of your coat. And he throws you. In that sort of gentle, you jump and he throws. He propels you to the rungs. It works. You have reached the rungs. How are you engaging with these things? Are you grabbing on? Are you attempting to scrabble for purchase and ignoring them? Are you...
I think Timi would probably grab on and try and sort of bodily lift herself towards safety.
Cool. Okay. I would argue that's clear strength.
Yeah. Oh.
Oh.
Oh dear.
Well, it's a good job it's early on in the evening and I still have...
Still have legendary points, yes.
Legendary points, so I shall burn a legendary point.
Yeah.
And not... Oh, fuck.
Is that another one?
Right, so the universe is telling me something, yeah.
It's another one. Okay, yeah. So you legendarily march. Wonderful. Yeah. So yeah, you step onto the side of the ship, you bend your knees, push off. O'Neill lends his meagre frame to twisting you around and throwing you that extra little bit. And he gives you that extra little boost, and you hit the piling about sort of 5-6 feet from the water line with your face. Your head rebounds off the piling, and you hit the wooden board protruding from the side of the ship, just behind your ear.
Oh.
Right. Let's see how much worse this gets. Okay. There's the other one. Oh god. Oh shit. Right. So, yeah, the board falls sort of flat against the side of the ship. O'Neill falls with you. And the two people holding onto the board sort of cling to the side of the boat. So yeah. Give me a reflex. Just to do anything. Grab anything. Save yourself. Anyone else who wants to try and do this? This is
12.
reflex action.
I would be trying to catch one of the two on deck.
Yeah, I think Zeke, even with his self-preservation, instinct would try and help at least, and grab out to try and get Timi or one of the two that are falling off.
I got a 10.
Dirty 12.
Okay, yeah. One of the people who's was sitting on the board is just catapulted off the board. They hit the side of the boat basically, and stop. The board just slides past them. The other one's hanging from the other side of the boat, the outside, and is helped up by Anita. Timi and Zeke, I'm going to need some grappling. Because you're basically at frenziedly attempting to grab each other.
Grapple.
Unfortunately, O'Neill rolled a botch. So O'Neill just falls into the water.
So, is that... could I get a grapple dex on that? As I'm...
No.
No.
This is definitely
No.
strength.
Yeah. You're catching someone falling.
Okay, well I crit.
Well, that's good, because I got a 4.
Shit. Okay. Yeah. So you got a 4. You got a 4 with strength to grab someone who's really, really grabbed onto you. So as we shall go with this as Zeke is safe. Zeke's leg brace has caught the side of the ship. Rather painfully, but it cannot let go because it is a piece of goddamn metal. Zeke is basically hanging by his knees off the side of the ship. With Timi giving in an absolute unbreakable steel grip around his forearms.
Anita's going to yell, "People overboard!" I remember that happening in movies when she was little.
Yep. The salties who were sitting on the board had catapulted off. They managed to get clear, and they start to grab Zeke's legs. He's not going anywhere right now. O'Neill, on the other hand, is sucked under the boat. You don't even get to see what happens to him. He just vanishes under the water, pulled in by. Unfortunately, boats like these, they have a rather horrible sort of jet stream effect underneath the water. A stream effect under the water, where the water is pulled under, runs through a turbine and blown out the back. So, yeah. Bye, O'Neill. That's the water below. You notice the engine note changes. There's sort of a chug for a few moments, and it doesn't quite recover. The boat seems to sort of be losing its fight against the wash of the tide now. Well, I don't even know if it's called the tide anymore, but hey, it seems to be drifting closer to shore, backwards. One way or another, you are going to shore. So,
could I possibly, as we start to drift backwards, lift Timi up towards the rungs so she can try and reach out for them?
Unfortunately, you're drifting away from the rungs as we speak. It's the rungs were dead across, dead in front of you. Well, as far as you can on a boat. But when you're on a boat and you're trying to engage with something stationary, the boat moves back and forth, and the stationary thing stays in the same place. So they've boosted the engines up to the level with it, thrown someone off, and then gone, oh shit, things are happening, and then the engines have died. The engines are dying. And it's not something that a mechanic inside can really fix.
You definitely hear sort of off the side of the boat, and probably Timi too can just hear a string of grumbling and cursing. Saying, I'm going back north after this. I don't care what's down here. Should never have come down. Dad was wrong.
Fuck this. Fuck everything. Yes. Similarly, you can hear angry salty being shouted in the engine room. The sound of a large wrench hitting engine over and over. Percussive maintenance. Yes. So yeah, with over the next sort of moment or two, you are hauled back up over the side by what you'd presume is someone who might have just received a promotion. the older of the two. Right. The way we will decide this is screw it. The two of you who nearly died. Each of you roll d12.
9.
8.
Excellent. Spanners. Sitting on the board, there was a lass and a lad. Who's the new captain?
Lass.
The lass. Excellent. The lass is the new captain, and her name is... Excellent. Her name is Glengonia. Because why not? So, Glengonia is the new captain of the Bottom Bride. Excellent. There we are. She, after Anita pulls her back over the edge of the boat.
Very slowly, because she's not a strong girl.
Yeah. You notice she straightens up the front of her coat. Screw it. She takes off her crappy hat, throws it in the sea, and she dusts off her hands and she walks into the wheelhouse. Right. I'm going to fix this shit. And in short order, the boat starts to peel away from the harbour. Apparently Glongonia's having none of this shit. So the engine still isn't doing much. It seems possibly that she might actually be pursuing the wrong course. As the boat turns sideways on, you'll notice the engine is facing straight backwards. You're actually drifting towards the shore faster. But hey, at least you're not going to hit the harbour arm. So, what are you guys going to do?
So how close are we now towards being able to disembark?
Well, the shore, insofar as it is more like it's more like sort of a muddy estuary. So there's like it's lots of shallow watercourses and deep mud. Like,
Okay.
in theory, you could walk on some of it, but it's probably not a great idea.
Mud flats, not good.
Certainly not with the water there.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any doors,
Doors.
attached or otherwise, on the boat?
Yes, the wheelhouse has doors.
Okay.
They
What
slide
is
closed.
excellent. So what is that door made of?
As with most things on the Bottom Bride, on top of the deck, it seems to be made of wood, which is odd,
Okay.
but well preserved.
And from where we are right now, and obviously the crate disappeared, but if you were to
Oh, it's just
remove
the top
a
of the
door-
crate, just the roof, just the lid of it.
Okay. But if you were to remove a door, would it stretch from where we are to the deck thing?
No.
Land? No.
No.
Okay.
With every passing moment, you're progressing further from the harbour arm. The idea being they're trying to get further away from the thing they can smack into while they try and fix the engine. Or at least squeeze some more power out of it.
And where is this wheel room?
The wheelhouse. The wheelhouse is approximately 2/3 of the way back from the front of the boat. It doesn't reach all the way to the back. You can walk around the back of it. And you know this because it has the stairs to below decks in it. Well,
Okay.
in front of it, but hey, within the enclosure.
Timi is going to cast an eye over to the two, give him a nod, and stride over to the wheelhouse to have a chat with the new captain. Have you? Is she salty?
She seems to be.
She is. Okay.
Insofar as you or O'Neill were.
Okay.
She looks like one. She's on a boat and she's interfacing with other salties. She didn't sound much like one.
All right, Captain. Have you met Morgan?
I've met most.
Right then. So, are you about to explain to her why her crates aren't with her? And you've got so close, and then you've pissed off again.
Oh, not doing any good if we all die. Boat goes down.
Right. Boat's
Boat
going
goes
to go
down,
up.
or runs aground. Not doing anyone any good.
No, but you want to get this shit off your boat before you end up with a bloody great big hole like that other one.
Are you threatening me?
Not threatening you. I'm just saying, a little jar. All we had to do was throw it. You take one little knock. You've got to crate that bloody stuff. You want us
All the
off your
better reason
boat.
to get away from that.
True, but you've still got the explosives on your boat. We need to get off. We need to go and see Morgan. The quicker you do that, the quicker you can go on your merry way, go off, be captain, do whatever it is you need to do. Otherwise,
Sorry. At this point, Zeke will poke his head through and say that having heard this going on in Salty and picking out the odd word that he believes to be explosives, say, can we not just dock where we set off from and unload all this and get it to Morgan, rather than dick about with trying to see what's going on first? It's a good idea, but it's not going to work, I don't think.
Glengonia sort of turns to you. For a moment, she just takes her hands entirely off the wheel. She turns to you. She looks straight past Timi, ignoring her pointedly. Says, "The engine is broken."
Well,
We're going to run aground. We're not turning round.
well, bring me a crew back and I can fix it.
No, we're not going to try that technique again. You're just going to break it.
Well, I stopped it. I stopped it once, so by that logic, I can put another one in. It'll start to go.
Yeah, that's a different engine.
What's he talking about?
You don't want to know.
No.
Just don't let him anywhere near your engine.
Don't give him a bat.
Okay. You're an
He
old...
did some terminal repair jobs.
Oh. Fair enough. Okay. So, Timi, you're the rusty one, yeah?
That's right. Give
Well,
it a go if you want.
have you thought of, lending a hand?
Well, I suppose if you make it worth our while.
Well, maybe we won't die.
Maybe you won't die. Look at what we've been through. We were on that bloody great big boat over there. Been through worse.
Okay, let me spell this out. Boat runs aground. That goes boom and we die.
So you don't want it to go boom, right?
No. And you
Good.
don't want
What
us
are you
to run
going to give us in
aground.
return then?
What?
What are you going to give us in return? We ought to be, paid for our services.
Well,
At this point,
your
he's
life.
just going to look at Timmy and go, maybe now's not the time to negotiate this. It's in our best interest to help.
Timmy's going to wander off grumbling. I bloody work for nothing.
Oh. Really not doing a great job of portraying the Salties as a wonderful and communal, a wonderful, community driven by communal effort and, and concern for each other. But hey, why not?
True, but they did damage her hearing and leave her to die.
Yeah. But it wasn't entirely their fault. You know, she did contribute to that. She did set the
Details.
bomb.
Because she was following orders.
That argument always goes well. So yeah. Yes, the new captain has asked you to lend aid. You know, to fix the engine so you don't all, run aground and die.
Yeah, so Timi's going to stomp into the engine room.
Okay.
Is there a Rust Maiden down there?
Yeah, the Rust Maiden's still there. She, as you've got closer, the cursing and the clanging have got louder. And as you get there, you can see that there doesn't seem to be any visible issues with the hull or anything like that down here. But the engine just seems to be dying. There's it's shaking in places where it shouldn't be shaking. There's clouds of vapor shooting out of bits that the clouds of vapor shouldn't be. Things are cracking. Dials are going mental. It's unpleasant.
Okay. So Timi's going to pick up a rag, stick it in her pocket, pick up the nearest spanner, walk up to the Rust Maiden and go, right, you know what your problem is? What you got here, this is known as Pebcar. Right, Pebcar. You've heard of that, right?
What?
Problem exists. Yeah, problem exists between Captain and Rudder. You get Captain out Rudder, everything's fine. Right.
Go on then.
So we need some kind of, I don't know, plunger? Pokey stick? We need to get the bits out, then it'll run smoothly. Or you need to give it a big boost of power, and it'll just chop him up a bit smaller. A bit like a blender.
Oh, so that's what happened.
That's right. Fell off the side, didn't he, silly butter?
Oh. Well, we know what to do for that. We do reverse. She goes over to the titanic monstrosity that is the cobbled together gearbox. And she just throws the engine into reverse. She has no idea where you are or what's happening. Her entire existence is that mess hall and this engine room. So she doesn't know they're only a few meters away from the shore. When she over-revs the engine and slams it into reverse. And yeah, the engine, the cracks crack, the steam steams, the places that shouldn't be spraying out vaporized oils continue to do so. But the engine note seems to calm down after a few moments. And after those few moments, the boat it seems to attain a new attitude, if you will. A slightly more diagonal one. And after a few moments, the engine sort of starts shuddering, and then it starts coughing, and then it stops altogether. At which point the Rust Mistress just sits there looking horrified.
Oh, you broke it.
It's dead. We killed it.
I want to be you.
Glengonia is going to come down. You who are above decks, you know that the boat that was quite desperately trying to chug away from shore, stopped very suddenly and then shot backwards at great speed. You've hit a mud bank, and the boat has rolled somewhat. Not all the way. Just, it's a markedly more diagonal sort of way of living.
What? You're the captain now. What's all this about?
Gunny's just sitting there looking really, really pissed off. If either of you understood Salty, you would have just heard the phrase, "I was only captain for 15 fucking seconds." How could they do this to me? Yeah. Demons of sand and tide, damn you. Essentially, this is the Salty equivalent of dropping to your knees and saying, they blew it up, damn you! This person's life has just ended, basically. They've gone ashore. The one thing that they basically said they would never do. And they've run a ship ashore. Ships aren't replaceable. So yeah, here you sit on the Bottle and Bride. Oh, shit. I just made that very small. On the beach. So, what was once the beach is now a broken, muddy estuary. Just between Moorcrud and Ooze Town. You have a ship and some rather bemused and panicking shipmates. A large engine and a host of things. They're currently in the shape of a ship. How are you going to overcome this issue?
Well, at least the crates didn't explode.
Is there the same sort of pile of crap as was on the Breaking Wave behind the wheelhouse, just like metal plates and that kind of thing?
No. Unfortunately, this ship does occasionally go scavenging, but it was more for sort of carrying things to and from places. It wasn't so much a ship where they go, they raid things, they cut things up, and they carry large metal plates around. Yeah.
Okay.
Behind the wheelhouse of this ship, there is a space to stand. Ostensibly at one point to winch nets into.
Okay. Looking into the crates that are there, sort of double checking that nothing's leaking and or about to explode. What is the viscous oily substance contained inside said crates?
I think you've just described everything I can say about the viscous clear substance contained within the crates.
So it is just like it is just like liquid in the crates. They're not like in jars or barrels or anything in there.
Yeah, it's in jars. It's a series of jars mainly. I mean, there are bottles, there are jars, there are pots.
Okay.
Hillbilly style jugs.
This Zeke will look around to find Anita and say, go and get Timi. I need someone to translate to our friends here. I've got a plan that me and Dar did with the cart when we found a flooded river one time. But looking at the crates.
Yeah, Anita will wander off to try and find Timi. Head down to where she knows the engine room is. Wander in and go up to your usual tricks then.
Well, got it working for a bit.
Yeah, not quite long enough. Anyway, Zeke needs a translator. I think he's got a cunning plan.
Hey, can't see how this will go wrong. Let's do it.
Can't get any No, I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, watch it. Yeah. And yeah, Timi will follow.
Okay.
Back up to the wheelhouse.
Yeah. Zeke sort of hasn't moved from by these crates, but when you guys appear, it'll go, Timi. Right. See, what happened was on my way down this way with Dar, we came to a river where the bridge had given out. See, and what we had to do was we pulled apart our cart and made a bridge.
Right. And you're suggesting we need to take the boat to pieces?
No, if we can get these crates to bits, we can use the wood from it to make a path to dry land.
Okay. And how are we going to get the jars if we've taken the crates to pieces? Or are we going to use different crates?
It's a problem for another day, my love.
Right, you are. And you need me to translate this to whom?
The crew in general, so as we can get going.
Okay. Timi will. Is there something that she can climb on, sort of in the near vicinity?
There are the crates.
Very, very carefully, she's going to climb on the crates, and just shout at the top of her voice. All right, lads. Right, we need you to break up some shit for us. Is that all right?
With the exception of the Rust Mistress, the entire crew have come above decks to work out what the fuck is going on and what to do next. As you proposed that you break apart their home, their sacred craft, you know, the living embodiment of their way of life, in order to make a goddamn bridge, they just look horrified. You've just proposed to, you've basically just sort of proposed to a major world religion like, yeah, your Messiah's a bit rubbish, can I use your relics?
I think probably seeing their faces, she's going to point to the crates and go, no, lads, this stuff, the crates, we want you to break the crates and make a path, and then we'll fuck off.
Okay. Why do you want to break crates? Oh,
right, so these mudsliders here.
Why?
Don't ask questions. These mudsliders, they want to get back to the town off the water. God knows why. But if you can make a path using the wood, right, then pass along these jars of things that you should not shake, right, at all, and then we'll make like putting out a fire, except if you drop this shit, there's going to be fire.
One of the people at the back, it's a little guy that you've seen like in the galley a lot. You call him the ship's cook, but you've eaten the ship's cooking. And raises his hand. It's like, do we get a vote? 'Cause I vote not to do that. Sounds dangerous and like explosions. I think I'm allergic to them.
Right. You might not want this stuff on your boat then, because
It's already
you don't
here.
like explosions. Well, then help us get it off.
I mean, you could just like dump it over side. Other side. It don't wash into us.
How close are we to the mud?
I think we established how high the sides of the boat are, but let's say that it's 2 meters aside. So you are now about 3 meters on one side and a meter on the other.
So Timi's going to climb down carefully. And how far away is this guy?
I think the boat isn't very long. You can walk to the other end in a minute. It's
Okay.
not very long at all.
She is going to go directly up to this cook. And based upon the fact that he is a cook, she is going to take him by the scruff of the neck, drag him over to the crates, and using her torture skill, she is going to take one of the jars from the top, is going to kneel on him. So having kind of thrown him to the floor, kneel on him, hold his nose open, and pour some of this liquid down his throat.
Okay.
At which point...
I'm going to say you walk over there, you're going to get a grapple.
Yep.
If any of you two want to do something at this point, that's cool. Shit.
Timi, what are you doing? You don't want to pour that down his throat.
Well,
That's not going to
you
go
just
well.
grabbed him and essentially you've what did you get on your grapple?
16.
Yeah, he crit. He sort of crit failed. He botched. So essentially you've grabbed him in whatever manner you wish to, and he sort of slipped. Possibly while trying to writhe out of your hands. It's like, ah! Yeah, he's ragdolled in a almost pathetic way.
Marvellous.
Throwing himself in the direction you wish to go anyway.
Cool.
Timi, what are you doing with that bottle?
Prove it a point. And she's going to then...
Gonya's going to be like, what the fuck are you doing with him?
Now that she's got this stuff in at least into his mouth, she's going to hold his nose so he has to swallow, pick him up, and dump him off the side of the boat.
Okay.
What
Yeah.
are you
So
doing?
yeah, you force him to chug some of this horrific filth. As it touches his skin, you notice that his skin starts to go red around his mouth and nose. Where you hold his nose, you notice that it starts to irritate the skin of your hand. He kind of gurgles and tries to gasp a few times before you chuck him off the low edge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you chuck him off the low edge and he goes splat in the mud. And sinks sort of a foot or two.
Would the impact of it cause any kind of chain reaction with this viscous stuff?
It doesn't seem to.
Interesting.
It's
almost a science experiment.
He lays there. He lays there in the mud, writhing and coughing, and sort of sizzling, like a sausage in a pan that's not quite hot enough, but coughing and gasping. Most sausages don't do that. And he manages to like scrabble his way through the mud and the water to like a little patch where there's like some horrible like brownish scrubby grass. Like that's about a good sort of 10-15 meters away. Like, but by the point he arrives there, he looks worse than Anita after a long night of drinking. In the rain. And he probably smells worse than Zeke after he fell in that river mud.
Anyone else want to keep us on the boat then?
Was that really necessary, Timi?
At this point, the crew are not looking very pleased with you in general. Their captain's dead. Their captain's dead. Their boats are aground. You just killed the chef. You're like the worst party guests in the world.
He wasn't a good chef.
Yeah. Glengonia has gone back into the wheelhouse at this point and pulled out like the captain's gun from behind the wheel, which is sort of a traditional thing in salty culture, even on ships where the captains are tied to the wheel. It's sort of a combination naval pistol, shotgun, flare gun, used for signalling distress and or killing mutineers. And she just points it. She points it as most people who try to aim something so ridiculously large and heavy, because it's almost the size of a drain pipe. You've seen one of these before, on the Breaking Wave.
Before she comes back, seeing things going a bit south, can Zeke sort of go round the other side and sort of like sneak away a little bit?
Yes, you may sneak away.
Yes.
This is precisely the situation in which Zeke sneaks away.
Yeah. So I take it you'll want a sneak for that, and
Yep.
I'm leaving me high and dry, so I get a +2.
Yeah.
20.
Excellent. Yes. You
I rolled
vanish as
10 and have a
comprehensively as
+10.
possible. Yeah. You vanish entirely. No one is even aware that you vanished. Yeah. You leave a Zeke sort of shape and Zeke smell suggestion gap in the crowd. The guy next to you is still sure you're there, and turns to angrily stop you from taking any hostile action before he realizes you're not there. So yes, you vanished. Glengonia comes out of the wheelhouse, and she hefts the captain's pistol.
At that
As those
point,
who do, so just sort of with one hand under the barrel, just generally in the direction of the mutineer.
at that point, Anita's going to just in front of her and just go, "You really do not want to fire that gun near those barrels. You will kill us all."
It really can't
Just
get any
saying.
worse.
Sort of seeing this weapon being aimed at Timi from his new hiding point, just around the corner, so he's still in line. He can get line of sight, but isn't noticed.
Are you standing the opposite side of the wheelhouse or behind the wheelhouse?
The side away from the crates.
Okay, cool, yeah.
So that the captain would have her back to me and I would be facing Timi.
Okay, yeah, you're there. Right.
I'll
Gonya is
unhost.
going to say at this point, just... You're not taking any more from us. Get off our boat.
We're trying to.
Yeah.
They
We're
were
done helping.
arguing. Timi overreacted.
We're done helping. And they pick up the boxes and they dump them into the mud. And they're lashed together. They're lashed together, you can rip them apart, you can do whatever the hell you want with them. Go away. We wish you all the best. If you survive this, well done. Come and find us, we'll buy you a drink. Get the hell out of my ship.
Okay. I try and get off the ship onto the crates.
It takes the combined effort of pretty much everyone on the crew to move these crates while they're all lashed together. But they'd manage it. They lift them like the 1 meter over the side, just flop it into the mud.
They didn't explode.
Why did you think they would? At this point, the repeated demonstration of the fact this hasn't exploded, I want you all to roll a knowledge check.
Can I roll explosives?
This is a knowledge for a specific reason.
15.
8.
Oh, this isn't going to be good because I just rolled a 1 knowledge. 8.
Okay. For those of you with 8s, you recall that you picked this stuff up from the place where fuel is made. Timi, you recall the person you picked this up from specifically said this is basically a souped up version of the fuel they run boats on. Like, it's incredibly flammable. It's highly explosive. It's very volatile. It's not an impact explosive.
Anita already knew that. She
Be
set fire to it.
careful, but you want to be careful, to make sure there are no sparks on a metal ship. But in a well-packed crate, unless you set the crate on fire, it should be alright.
Timmy's going to shrug.
Also, to be fair, Anita would recall that you set the last one on fire.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
That's why she's not been flinching when everyone's been juggling the crates.
Yeah. Timmy's just going to kind of jump down, shrug, and go, gonna let the cook live then.
Yeah.
I tried to tell you that.
Yeah, you essentially just poured corrosive biodiesel down his face. It's somewhere between biodiesel and nitroglycerin. Which I realise nitroglycerin does explode if you agitate it, but hey, this is a game, not a chemistry lesson.
Next time.
Yeah.
Next time we'll let them live.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. So you could have let the chef live. You look over and he's definitely dead.
So, any ideas how we get off of the mud now? That you've burnt our bridges with the ship?
We can still use Zeke's idea and take the crate to pieces and then just kind of chain gang it along.
Yeah, but I'm guessing these crates won't be here when we get back because they'd have sunk.
Well, as we make the path from the crates, so we take from the top, we could take the jars out and lay them along the path and then kind of then retrace that path. It's going to be a long process.
Yeah, I'll let you do that.
I'm going to say this is you agree, so you do it. And
Timi will start taking the crates to pieces
Yeah.
and laying the path. And
they've been wrapped in netting and things, and they're all packed. So, in theory, you might be able to, create a bag or some bags, and carry some. I mean, you might not be able to carry it all, but some's better than none. You can make crop circle boards and walk on them. I'm sorry, crop circles are entirely genuine. No, crop circle boards. So yes, you essentially make yourselves do you make crop circle boards, or do you make snowshoes, or how are you going to do this?
I think she's going to try and lay them out in like a long line.
Okay, so a walking pontoon.
Yeah, pretty
Okay.
much. And then just like laying out as many possible jars of this stuff as she can, so that she can get them closer and closer towards actual land. And then they're not all in one place, so she's distributing the weight across the mud.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you keep doing this for a few hours, and I'd say after 2-3 hours, maybe, you hear a collective cheer from back the way you came, as with a connection, with a sort of a combination of being able to now to access the propeller by digging down to it and pulling out the remains of O'Neill, and the action of shovels and punting. The Salties managed to get the boat back in the water. The engine hasn't started yet, but it seems to be floating in the right direction. They've waited till tide's gone out to basically push it down. And it's not so very long after this that you start to hear a buzzing noise. It's quite far off, but it's getting louder. And, continue.
What's that?
Going about. As far as you can tell, it's a buzzing noise.
Anyone else hear the buzzing?
It's quite a regular buzz. It doesn't seem to be stopping.
Does it sound familiar to Anita?
Not particularly. It might stir some long dormant memory, but it's nothing. It's nothing that sparks any like recent post-apocalyptic survival instinct in you or anything. It's not like, oh no, it's the enormous radiation bees. No, it's nothing like that. It's still getting louder. It's very regular. It's not fading or changing pitch. Sorry?
Can we tell which direction it's coming from?
Being that you're Zeke and you'd probably know, it's definitely coming from the east.
The east.
As opposed to Ooze Town, which is west.
Okay.
It's still getting louder.
I'd just like to point out, Timi, that we could be on that floating boat right now, but I think we need to book it because I don't like the sound of that. Everyone grab a couple of bottles and let's just get off of this mud as soon as we can so we can actually run.
Okay. Timi's going to throw a net. How many nets are there? Was it just like a collection of different nets?
It was like a big ass climbing net wrapped around this thing.
Supposedly between Timi and Zeke we could lift it and carry it like half full maybe.
Timi and Zeke might be able to carry one of the crates, or the contents of one of the crates, if they manage to put it back into some sort of similar container. But the cargo nets were designed really for wrapping up or carrying cargo in containers, not for carrying sort of jars. Jars would fall through the holes in these nets. Unless you wrap them in a bag. You could put bags in the nets and carry the net, but it's not the most.
Did Timi break up all of the boxes, or was it the crates, or was it just one?
I think she had 2 hours worth of crate destruction.
Yeah.
Okay. In which case, if we have no crates left, then Timi is going to use the red coat that she was given. Best not to go into more detail than that, but she's going to use the red coat and put as many of these jars in as she can, and then kind of wrap it up.
Okay. Forming yourself a little sack.
Yeah.
A little red duffel sack.
A little red duffel sack.
Okay. Anyone else?
Anita's just going to
forming
grab a
bag?
couple of bottles and put them in her bag.
Okay.
Grab a piece of the wood, throw it within hopping distance, jump on it, grab another piece of wood, walk along it, look at the others and go, "You coming then?"
What's Zeke doing?
Next piece, and get ready to.
Zeke is going to take off his duster and sort of pack as many, in the same way that Timi did in turning it into a makeshift bag. Turn his duster into a makeshift bag as well and load it with as many jars as he can. I know. I'm trying to work out whether or not he's truly vindictive enough to try and sink the bottle and bride, having shot Lamb for having murdered Lamb for only breaking his arm. I don't think so. Yeah, and then he'll sort of head towards the shoreline. Does the buzzing, as it's getting louder, start to sound mechanical or natural?
Yeah. Right. We can roll some dice at it now. Someone's asked the right question.
Okay.
Yep. Anyone else want to roll perception?
Yep.
It is definitely very loud now.
Dirty 12.
8.
13.
Okay. On your dirty 12, you're actually on your dirty 12. You're pretty sure you can like smell fumes. Like you're pretty damn sure this is mechanical.
Okay.
At this point, on an 8, you're like, doesn't sound like any bird or insect I've ever heard. And Timi, yeah, this is an engine.
So as it's now close enough for us to identify that it's probably people. Zeke is going to be in much less of a hurry, and sort of gather up as much as he can, sort of containers of this stuff wise, and partly curious to see what it is.
Zeke, need I remind you that we're kind of wanted around here? Whether it's natural or mechanical, it doesn't really matter. Both are out to kill us.
Didn't see none of them blue coats with any kind of engines or anything to ride in.
Yeah, well, still, I've survived this long by not getting too inquisitive. And I'd much rather be on firmer ground where we've got easier ways to run before we start working out what this thing is.
Right. As you say, I've survived this long. Through like the closest like bank of like scrubby grassy reeds, bursts a phenomenally odd looking object. It looks more than anything like a large black blister. It's soft and dark, and it seems to be sort of billowing under its own sort of wind. A thoroughly uncomfortable thing to look at, kind of like a slug. As it crests through the grass, it drops, And you notice that atop this sort of large black slug-looking thing is an assemblage made of sort of wood and odd tangled bits of metal that has 4 people sitting on it. I don't say men or women. They're going past far too quickly. They seem to be sitting in front of a large fan. It's belching out all manner of filthy black fumes as it zooms past you. Shortly followed by another one further away and another one behind you that crosses your path. Go back to the boats, or back to where you landed. As they pass, the people inside start whooping. And they vanish into the rushes on the other side of your path. And that's your first impression of the Crudders, it would seem.
Anita's kind of like, I knew I recognised that noise.
Yes. And seeing that it is 10:10. We've just introduced the Crudders, which is a really stupid thing for me to do at this point. But hey, I shall leave it up to you guys. Should we try and initiate a combat with 20 minutes to go? Or shall we throw you into a combat beginning next time?
I'm sure 20 minutes to go is plenty.
Screw it. We'll do that then. Right.
Do it.
Let's see what. Right. Oh. Sunday, you are clearly ready. You know what's happening. As the first of these things smashes back through the reeds. The people on the back still whooping and waving, and one of them throws a barbed metal pole at Timi. Yes. You are hit with the barbed metal pole.
Nice.
Yeah. Bizarre. Thoroughly unpleasant. Oh, Jesus. You're hit for 9 damage with a barbed metal pole.
Oh, bugger.
As this machine smashes past you, it hits you in the hip as they pass.
As they go past...
Sorry, what does Anita remember about hovercraft? Would she remember about air cushions? She grew up around the Stolen.
Anita would probably remember that there was a hovercraft. She would probably recall that they're very noisy.
Mm-hmm.
And because it's Anita, and she has a penchant for remembering annoying, stupid pieces of information, now that she's in the moment and her mind is racing, she would recall that the hovercraft was designed 500 years before it was built, and the people who designed it then knew it was inefficient. Just the same as the helicopter.
Okay.
Like, ha-ha! Oh, that's really not useful right now. Shit. But huzzah!
So she doesn't remember that there's a bag of air, that if you take that out, the whole thing collapses.
She might not remember that, but you might be able to reason it out, looking at the damn thing. There are 3 of them. Yeah, you don't see any other method of it going along, and you have seen inflatable boats.
Yeah. Yeah, I think she'd work that out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it'd be fairly reasonable. But yeah.
She's gonna shout to the others, shoot for the slug thing.
Okay. Right, so that was what you did. In your, then, right, the second of these abominable things tears past.
Is this the one that would be in line with the path that we just made? Like between us and the boat?
They're crossing your path from the side. They've crossed and they're coming back across. So the second is going to come past and attack Anita. One of the people on the back throws. It appears to just be a large ball of like hard baked mud, but it misses because I can't roll well now. Apparently, that was my one good roll of the night, and just hits the water near you. It causes some splashing and general unpleasantness. But you hear someone quite definitely, not insulty, in English, shout, "Bugger!" As it shoots past.
As it sort of gets in line with the trail of glass jars that Timi has left so carefully, we were only able to gather some of. I think Zeke is going to take a shot for the jars.
Okay.
Not only that, but I am in no doubt that this is a good time to use 2 legendary points.
Oh fuck! Oh. Okay. So you burn them and you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, it's a minimum of 2. You burn all your legendary points.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, you said it, so it happens. You shoot at one of the jars near them as they pass. Christ! You catch the jar that. You catch a jar that's been like thrown aside by their passage, just as it passes out from under the air cushion. And it goes up a tree. It throws the pieces of board it was on out like shrapnel all over the place, and it flips the craft, which having lifted off the ground, you see there's an enormous set of fan blades spinning underneath, and as soon as it gets to the horizontal, it just rockets off into the air, like tumbling, and you see all the people getting thrown off in like hilarious directions in a very sort of Looney Tunes kind of way, with appropriate levels of screaming. Unfortunately, accompanying your fantastic success, the jars heading back towards the shore, the start going up in succession, and similarly coming back towards you. Yeah, but not instantly, just as the heat of the fire around them builds to a sufficient degree. So.
Yes, it's time for Zeke to do what Zeke does best and bucket away from those jars.
Yes. Zeke, you just have time to ascertain the full scope of what you've done. As the third craft rips past, and having seen what you just did, you're clearly the person standing there firing a large gun. They fuck it. They throw the lid of an oil drum at you. Oh, for fuck's sake! Which you have just enough time to notice as it just shoots through, like across like your vision over the top of your rifle. Right, Timi, what are you doing? You haven't opted in so far.
In a very uncharacteristic Timi move, Timi is going to pick up her little duffel sack of stuff and leg it towards the grass, away from explosions and weird buzzing boats that appear to be wandering about on half land.
So you're just going to book it.
Yes.
Fair enough. Fair enough. You've had just enough time to realise that you've got jars of going boom, 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 boom. Oh shit. Oh. So are you just gonna risk it with the mud and filth, or?
To be honest, at this point, I think the slower that we are away from these things, the more damage we're going to take. And if Zeke has just blown up the jars, we don't want to be near the fire and the boom. And it wasn't me that blew this boat up. I'd like that on record. Haven't blown a boat up yet. Can I argue a I don't know. Endurance for running away?
Yeah.
Like
I'll argue a physical endurance for running away through like knee-deep mud with a hip wound.
Good. That's going to be a 6 in total.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh god. Where's our relatable challenge level? Yeah. For those who doubt this one, the example for a difficulty 6 action is spotting a large box in a pile of small boxes. So yeah, running through knee-deep mud with a hip wound does not conform to a difficulty 6 action. So yeah, you run down your prepared pontoon. You jump off it. You sink to the knees and you bend forward at the hips. And you just splat into God,
Good.
into the mud. You slide a little way. Not your most glorious hour. And you will take. Screw it. I'm going to say you take a level of exposure. Because you are face down in corrosive mud.
Marvellous. What happens at 3 levels of exposure?
3 levels of exposure. Do you have a level of suffering already?
Yeah.
Good, because you can't have less than 1. And you take d6 damage. Woo! You take 5 damage.
Bollocks. Okay, thank you.
That's quite alright.
I feel like Zeke in a brothel.
Or on a ship.
Anywhere.
Zeke in a place. So yes. God. Right.
As a question, as I spent my entire time on the ship sort of relaxing and chilling out, have I lost any suffering, any exposure, sorry?
What is your current exposure?
4.
What's your current suffering?
0.
Actually, considering how very, very well you guys did with healing you up, I would say you are down to exposure 1, which means that your minimum suffering level is 0. If you have a suffering of more than 2, you can't have a suffering of less than 1.
How far away is Anita from solid ground?
You're not entirely sure if you can even see solid ground.
Okay.
You can see a fair distance away, directly ahead. If you're sort of east is there, west is there. Directly ahead, there is a hill. But exactly how far away it is, you're not really sure. You're running through a marsh.
Okay.
It's definitely closer than than Ooze Town.
How close is the nearest hovercraft?
Any given second, they sort of loop maybe sort of 20, 30 metres away. They don't seem to have much in the way of a turning circle. Yes, we have just dealt with Timi's turn. So, we've dealt with some silly rules questions because I didn't clarify the rules, which is entirely my fault, sorry. So, Hovercraft 1 is back. They are going to shoot past, again, the dude with the big ass gun. He's just proved himself a massive fucking risk. What I will be doing now every turn is I will be rolling this. If I get let's say a 10 or more, a jar nearby goes up. So, first of all, does a jar go up? No. Right. They're going to be shooting past, and let's say these guys have just got a supply of barbed metal poles, shall we? Yes. As Zeke is booking it away from his chain of explosions, you see a barbed metal pole fly past, way in front of you. For fuck's sake, Dave! I got one. Right. Who is acting now? Anita or Zeke, you can act now.
Anita's going to grab another plank of wood, throw it in front of the one she's on, step onto it, pull up the next one, and start moving that way as quickly as she can.
Okay, yep.
She separates them as much as she can step.
Yeah.
With a big step to try and get it as far as possible.
Yeah. Okay, you're crystal mazing this shit. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And there. Another one the Hallcraft shoots by, and is going to throw. I believe this is one of the ones with the. This is the guys with the clay bricks, isn't it? The oil drums is the one that got flipped. So, oh Jesus God, why can I not roll? Another large, like hard baked lump of like clay shoots past at head height, past Anita, and smashes into the marsh.
Just at the point when she's bending down to drag a bit of wood.
You can hear them starting to get frustrated now. I'll do
it. It's easy enough to tell who's sort of piloting these things, isn't it?
Oh yeah.
So with the one that's just gone, with the one that is like on its way back, the one with the barbed metal poles, Zeke is going to take aim at the driver and fire off. See what happens. 4 and 8 plus big guns of 6. So this should be a lot easier than it is. 14.
Okay, yeah. Are you stopping to like have a look before you fire, or are you just like, ah, shit, bang?
I think he'd take a beat or two to, knowing that Tilly is not best when fired from the hip blindly. He would stop for a beat.
Okay. As you stop and look, you get a chance to like actually like take in what these 4 people on the back of this thing are doing. It appears that one of them is sitting on the front with a pair of ropes that is attached to levers that are anchored to a metal sort of scaffold around him. And as he pulls them, there are 2 guys behind him on either side who are literally pulling the rudder to one side or the other. And there's a guy standing up in the middle, throwing things, like almost like on a coast guard, like a lifeguard's chair, which is just a little bit higher up, just throwing things. It's a rather odd thing. It looks a bit like the howdah they used to put on the back of a war elephant, sort of thing. Like all high up, just throwing shit down. Oh well, lovely things you make up in the moment. Hey, so yes. And you take a beat and you fire at the pilot. How much damage does he take? Is it
it's the
kind of like airboats? Yeah.
Is it a D10 plus my big guns skill? Okay, let's find out. 7 plus 6, 13.
Jeez. Yeah. Christ damn. Yeah, you have time to sort of take this all in, and you draw a careful bead. You're not going for anything fancy. You zero in on center mass. You don't quite factor for like the speed, because it would be hard to turn that fast. And this poor guy, if that indeed you can really apply that, you blow off his arm like at the elbow, basically. It's still attached, but for all intents and purposes, it's no longer there. Which of course means that he's no longer pulling on that rope. And the hovercraft just starts sort of spinning as the 2 guys who are meant to be who are just basically waiting for him to tug the rope to tell them to do something. One of them slacks off and the other pulls very hard, and the hovercraft just starts spinning. There don't appear to be any real trouble. You notice that the engine starts sort of dying down. It just starts spinning away, like slower and slower through the marsh. People are like, oh god! But yeah, so you have 1 hovercraft to deal with. We'll say that was the Poles one. Was that the Poles one or the Bricks one? Yeah, it was Poles.
That was Poles.
Cool. So yes. Right, yeah. At this point, the Bricks one comes back round. The brick one comes back round, and they're not going very fast anymore. You notice that the guy who's sitting up on the chair, like he's got his hands up in the air. He's waving something that was probably white once. It might be like a hanky, it might be a pair of pants. You're not really sure. And they're just like, don't kill us. just don't kill us.
Get us the fuck out of here. As quickly as that contraption can do it.
You're older 12. So they pull up in front of you. They pull up behind you because they've been harrying the guy at the back. They wave their little pair of their like dirty pair of pants and say, "Don't kill us." And then the jar they're going over goes up. and the hovercraft is flipped straight over pancake. And you get a wonderful little view of what happens when a fan pushing very, very hard is suddenly flipped over. All the people riding it are just driven very, very hard into mud. It's a little difficult to watch, maybe. But yeah, they do their best waffle iron impression, and get crushed behind, crushed between the the fan providing motive force and the fan providing the buoyancy. Oh, they didn't kill you.
Yeah, and in theory, it should hold back the heat of the flames to stop more jars going up.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I hadn't thought of that. Well done.
So we've solved several problems in one fell swoop.
Yes.
Anita's going to start booking it again across the mud with her 2 planks.
Okay. Yeah. In fairly short order, having, I assume, all joined up again at some point now. Have you gone and fished Timi out of the mud?
Yeah. We can't leave poor old Timi there. And seeing the shape that she's in, Zeke will say, you look how I felt. And we should probably get Anita to take a look at you quickly if she can.
It'll wait until we get off this mud. And Anita is really not Timi.
Okay.
She is blaming Timi for the whole situation they are in right now. She can suffer for a bit.
Excellent. You come to the other side of the marsh. In fairly short order, you reach an old road. It seems to have been sort of somewhat undermined by subsidence into the marsh, but hey, it's running along the bottom of a hill. There seems to be mudslides occasionally across it, but it seems fairly sturdy. And I think we'll finish there. I never tire of your ability to short circuit my attempts to direct you towards the plot.
I tried.
Yes. You weren't the problem this time.
This time.
Oh, God. But yes. That was the 24th, I think, session of Rotten Under Ooze Town. The continuing campaign of Monday Nights Get Nuked. So yeah, my God. What's wrong with you people? You destroy everything. Oh God. Yes. I'm astounded. I really thought you were going to close in on some plot elements there, but no. Yeah. I once again was thirsty. I was some crudders and a crew that didn't appreciate a mutiny, and Captain Glengonia, and apparently a marsh that did more to kill you than anything else. My God. And you can find me if you want to, and I don't see why you would after this shit show. You can find me on Twitter, thirsty_BTP. You can find details for the system and me again, I suppose, at bloodthirstypuppets.co.uk. And we are going to leap to one of my very able players who they can tell you what they thought and where you can find them and other things they're doing, because they're probably doing loads. And we shall first leap to the wonderful, the ever modest, the incredibly stylish Eivor.
I've been Eivor playing Zeke, and that was again more fun sidetracking. It wasn't me this time either.
True.
I just wanted an easy way off the ship because I'm old and have dodgy legs. Yes, that was fun. You can find me on Twitter at Eivor_DNABC. And otherwise, in the nebulous north, up to no particular mischief.
See, I'm still detecting an undercurrent of horrible, filthy lies. No particular mischief. Anyway, we shall move on. We shall pass over those horrible, filthy lies. And we shall jump to Lilth. Come on.
I'm Lilth. I was playing Anita, and that was really fun. And I tried to keep it on track. I tried. I did try. It didn't work.
Yeah, you were the conscientious passenger who pulled the brake cord, the emergency cord, like 20 minutes after it left the rails. But hey,
At least I tried.
yeah, you know, points for conscientious effort.
Yay! Yeah, that was really good fun.
Good.
Get to blow more stuff up, which is always a bonus.
Yeah, you
It wasn't Anita this time that blew stuff up.
Hell, I got to blow a ship. That was good. Admittedly, it was with a random mechanic that I built in to deal with your own shenanigans, but hey.
They were not my shenanigans.
As a collective.
I was trying to encourage everyone off the mud.
You were you're the only person who followed the solid crystal maze approach of just keep solving the puzzle, keep going forward, time limit, come on.
Yeah.
But yes. But I suppose that would have all changed pretty quickly if you'd got like a scaffolding pole with barbed wire wrapped around it through the leg.
Potentially. Who knows? We won't find out now.
No. Well, not until next time.
Maybe. So yeah, I've been Anita. You can find me on Twitter at Lilth21. You can find me occasionally popping up on the Actual Play podcast Corpses and Curios for some of their specials. Most recent one was Die Laughing, which is hilarious, really good fun. Check it out. And you can also find me on a Saturday. Clocks have changed, so it's normally 9 p.m. GMT, but I think with the clock change in America, it might be 8 or 10 p.m. No idea. One or the other.
You start
On
watching at 8,
Saturdays-
it will still be true at 10.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's on Kit Battlebeard's Twitch channel, playing a bit of D&D. In something of the Dusk.
Defenders.
Name's gone. That's the one. Defenders of the Dusk.
Defenders, Guardians, Protectors,
Something like that.
Rangers,
Yeah.
Drunks. I don't know. One of them.
Yeah, one of them.
It's one of those D&D podcasty sort of names. You know, they're all good, but you know they're sort of a set number of words that you can use in a set number of combinations.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Oh, you gotta love them though.
Ogre is saying 10 p.m.
Yeah.
So is that 10 p.m. EST or 10 p.m. GMT? Because our clocks haven't changed. I'm sure we'll get a response at some point.
Yeah. Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, let's hop on to the last member of our esteemed assemblage. Spanners.
It's the ST.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm Spanners. I've been playing Timi. Oh, poor Anita, she just wants a beer. I felt so sorry for her. She's like, what are you doing? But it was too good an opportunity to miss. And then, you know, with blowing up the jars, we're not going to have anything to hand over to Morgan. I'm not looking forward to that conversation.
I've got 2 jars.
You've got to. I think she was hoping for crates.
I have a couple.
So yeah, I am Timi with 1 hit point. Interesting.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll deal with you when we get on solid ground. You'll be fine.
I'm slightly concerned that you're going to deal with me when we get on solid ground because I don't know what you're going to inject. This looks fun.
Yes. We'll deal with you when we reach solid ground. You know. She's more trouble than she's worth. Stab. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really fun. You can find me on Twitter at spanners_BTP. You can find me on Dark Dice Podcast. Go and download it. You can also find me in Counterbalance, which you can download the teasers for. Go do that too. And other stuff.
Yes. I'm sure we all will. We'll go out and download those things right now.
Yes, do it.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Okay. Put it right here. I shall. But yes. So, there we are. We have come to the end of another wonderful session with no end in sight. Oh. Well, it is in sight. It's like just over there. But yeah. God. Yeah. So, once again, if you're watching this live on Twitch, thanks, because without that we wouldn't have people shouting us corrections when we say things that are wrong. If you're watching this on YouTube, huzzah! I remembered to put this on YouTube. If you're not watching this, because you didn't watch it, so you'll never know I said that to you. So yes, everyone out there, have a great one, and well, time at the bar. Ta-ra. Oh. I'm not joking. I'm drinking up. Oh, God.
I'd just like to have it on the record that Zeke dealt with all 3 of those single-handedly.
I can't believe you blew the jars up.
I can't. That's going to go right back to the store, the main bulk of it.
And if the bottle and bride is still there when it goes up, so be it.
I just killed the captain.
You guys were meant to cotton that it was supercharged fuel.
I did.
Just put it in the goddamn engine of the boat.
Oh,
Ah.
well.
To be fair, it works either way.
Reverse.
I say you were meant to. It was a thing that was there. It occurred to me at roughly the same point as I thought it would occur to someone else. Oh well.
Anita knows nothing about engines.
Yes, you have a goddamn mechanic with you.
True.
We say mechanic. Professional skills include torture and percussive maintenance.
Yeah, well, there is
Actually
that.
true.
Oh, God. Anyway, thanks guys for playing once again.
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
hopefully I can keep making this cruel and unusual and drag you through yet more. Ugh.
I need to stop burning my legendary points on stupid stuff.
No, you don't. That was brilliant. That was absolutely inspiring.